Hello, very warm hello to you on this morning. I am super excited to be here at the second Derwent Literary Festival and kicking off the online sessions. Thank you so much for joining me in my online session. I normally do my lives on my computer, but the sound card and the camera are not working terribly well, so I'm feeling a bit strange because I've got my earpiece in and just trying to do it on my phone and hoping everything is going to go well. So maybe drop me a message if you can hear me. I have got my laptop open as well, so hopefully I'll be able to see your comments popping up. I'd just like to say a huge thank you to Richard Graham Judd, who is the guy with the vision behind the whole festival. It's not just a celebration of books, but words and literature, and I know Richard is a huge reader, and there are something like 38 different sessions going on and actually reaching international. We've got people from America, authors from Italy. It's going to be a fantastic event, and it's for all ages. There's something for everyone. So do take a look if you haven't already, and get involved. So I'm talking to you from a small village in the northwest of the UK. It's actually a lovely kind of sunny, bright day here today. It's been a very wet spring so far. I'm hoping that maybe this is going to stay, but I believe we're going to have another week of rainy weather. Just hoping that this summer is going to be a nice one, like last summer was. So I'll just tell you something a bit about myself, really. I'm married and I have two gorgeous girls. One is 13 and a half now, and one is going to be 10 very soon. So yeah, I got the teenager stuff going on. I also work part-time as a dinner lady. I started doing that job really just to get myself out of the house, and also just to be around kids and to get to hear some of their lovely conversation, to help me with my writing really. And it's a job that I really enjoy doing. It's definitely worthwhile. Kids have a really nice way of looking at the world. It's very enjoyable. So before that, hi Kaylee and Helen. Thank you so much for joining me. Big shout out to you guys for coming to support me. That's really nice of you. So yeah, just going on to a bit about myself still. In a former life before I started writing and working at the school, I used to work in scientific research, and it wasn't until things, shall we say, took a bit of a different turn with that job and I found myself redundant that actually I even found writing. So quite a big career change. If you'd like to know more about that or ask anything, like whether I have pets or what books I like to read or what I like to write the most, just drop me a message and I'll try and answer them either now or after the session is finished. It's also just worth mentioning at the moment that in the last year or so I've been coming on and talking more about my own difficulties with anxiety. It feels kind of, I guess what's the word, it feels kind of wrong to sort of talk about it in a way, because so many people in the world have huge difficulties, and I'm very lucky. I have a lovely family, I've got writing, and I live in a nice part of the world where I don't have to worry about, being in a war-torn area or anything like that. But yes, I do suffer with anxiety, and it's definitely kind of eked into my writing, and also my writing is a way of expressing that and having therapy. And I'll talk more about that, and if anyone has any questions about that, would like to talk to me, I can point you in the direction of some really good resources. So I'm just going down my sort of bullets and making sure that I'm doing everything that I said I would talk about. So yeah, for those who don't know who I am, my name is Sarah Northwood. I'm a multi-genre author. What does that mean? It means I can't stick to one lane. I like to do different things. Apologies, my earpiece keeps popping out, so I hope you can hear me all right. I'm going to show you some of my books now. So first of all, I'm going to start off with some poetry books, because poetry is kind of where it all began for me. So we've got this one here, which is my thickest one. You'll notice that they're all quite thin. That's because I just tend to write sort of flash fiction poetry really. They're quick to read. This one here is very much of a sort of the anxiety theme. It was a book I wrote to help myself through a difficult time. And you can see that they've all got nice sort of pictures and calming pictures, and some people might say they're a bit cliche, the messages, but I found it helpful myself. So that's my poetry stuff. Sorry, I think I went offline for a moment then. Hope I'm back. Feel a bit nervous, I'm going to knock my whole phone off. So these are some of my children's books that I've written. And Legend of the Night Unicorn, thank you Helen for saying that you love that book. Yeah, Legend of the Night Unicorn is an award-winning book as well, so you can have a look at some of those. Now that's the thinner ones out of the way, let me get on to the novels. Don't worry, I'm going to read a little bit as well. Don't forget to keep asking me questions if you want to. So we have The Unravelling, which is also award-winning. It didn't actually win the gold, but it did very well. And it's more of a gritty sort of psychological thriller, that one, as is The Volunteer. And also She's Not Gone, which is a very important topic, talking about emotional and physical abuse. It's a psychological thriller, so it's fiction, but it has a very genuine and real message inside of it, showing really how easy it is, unfortunately, to find yourself in that sort of a situation. So later on, I'm going to tell you about a giveaway. I have written a short story exclusively for the festival. I've called it Best Friends Forever. It's only a very brief story, but I will tell you how you can get your hands on that. There is also a big giveaway. Let me just have a little look. There are at least 20 paperbacks being given away as part of this big giveaway. Unfortunately, it's only going to be in the UK because of postage, but do check out the big giveaway. And what I will do is, after I finish my live, I'm going to do some posts. There'll be things like where you can find me, information about how to get this short story, and the big giveaway. So all good, do check that out. Right, so I think that's all that bit. So I'm just going to kind of move on to what I'm doing right now. Just a little bit later than this time last year, I finished writing and I published my first young adult fantasy fiction story called The Westwood Witches. And I wrote this one for my eldest daughter, who was, she would have been 12 at the time, and she was moving out of kind of you know, the younger stories. She wanted something grittier, but I wanted her to be able to read something that was clean, you know, it wasn't necessarily full of topics that perhaps I wouldn't wanted to read, but also was gritty and real and emotional. Thank you so much, Kaylee and Helen, for saying that it's a great book. I really appreciate it. It's actually, at the moment, nominated, well, it got through to the finals in the Reader's Choice Awards, the MPS Reader's Choice Awards, and it's currently flying out in front in the category. So again, I'll do another little post showing you where you can vote for that. So I'm just going to read you the synopsis for this one. Arrow trembled as she held the box sealed inside black paper. The dilemma was a difficult one. Her mum had told her the box contained secrets she might not be ready for. Once she opened it, there would be no going back. Arrow has always felt like a misfit and an outsider. Thankfully, having a best friend like Lily, along with a grandma like Joanna, makes life worth living. But a terrible event tears her world apart, and Arrow Westwood is about to discover that her family has more secrets than most. So what I personally like about this book is that the main character, obviously Arrow, you may be able to guess that she discovers that she's got powers, that she's a witch, and that her family is. What I like about it is that she's quite an awkward sort of character, probably reflecting myself, the anxieties that I feel, but getting this great power, becoming a witch, doesn't suddenly mean that she's, you know, totally okay with the world. She's still sort of finding out about herself and who she is and becoming confident, really. She's going through that age where she's really learning about herself and trying to understand who she is and accept herself for who she is. And I think it's nice to have role models like that sort of age group. Young adult is kind of really from about 12 upwards to any age, but certainly around that teen age, I think it's nice to have role models that you can actually see yourself in. You know, they're not so flawed that it's impossible to imagine yourself, but equally they're developing and they're learning and they're understanding and getting confidence in themselves. So this is the first book in what hopefully will be a series. I'm working on the second one right now. Just got to about 40,000 words. I'm not going to lie, it's been hard work and it's not finished yet. Probably about 3/4 of the way through with that one. Writing a series is a new challenge for me. Writing fantasy is a new challenge for me. Who knew creating and making stuff up could be so difficult? But with fantasy, you've got to create an entire world. You know, there's got to be a system, there's got to be kind of an understanding of politics. There's not just sort of magical powers going to sweep in and make everything okay. And as with the first book, we've got terrorists, we've got differences, different characters. And what I like about writing, what is good about this kind of book, is that I can use that to maybe make analogies for things. So there are people in the story that don't like others because they're different. That's something I think that we have a lot of in this world right now, and I think it's something that we should, you know, work through and maybe teach the next generation that that's something we should be more accepting of. Thank you very much for your question, Richard. So I started writing probably about 5 years ago. Yeah, around about that. I'd been at home for a little while, having been made redundant. my husband was working away a lot at the time. I didn't know what I was going to do. It was very difficult trying to find work that fitted in with having a family life. One morning I sat down and literally quite out of nowhere a poem just popped out, and I wrote down this poem, and it was the strangest thing. I just knew immediately once I wrote that I wanted to carry on writing. Of course, it's a big transition from going to, writing a little poem to going all the way through to writing a novel, and I would not have done it on my own. I've had a team of people that have been incredible and have helped me, and hopefully I'm still learning as I go. I try and get better with every book that I go. What's the picture on the wall? Good question, Richard. It's a big picture of the Manchester City, the derby. My husband is a massive, massive Manchester City fan, and actually Manchester City is the only team I've ever been to go and watch. I would not be allowed to go and watch any other team. So yeah, that's what that is. You probably can't see, but over on the other side I put up some certificates as well, because this year has been a really, really good year for my books and for myself personally. So I thought, you know what, it's nice to put them up and be able to say this is what I've achieved. So I have my diploma for World Laureate in Literature from the World Nations Writers Union, which has made me very, very proud. I'm also an honorary member of their Literary Council, which is fantastic. And I also have my certificate here for Legend of the Night Unicorn, winning the Best Children's title, which is fantastic. So yeah, I've mentioned that I'm working on the second book. I'm just checking the time out because I know I'm wittering on. There was some more good news recently regarding my poetry. So as well as the novels that I work on, I enjoy writing poetry, something you can dip in and out of and allows you to sort of just express those emotions that you're feeling in the time. I was absolutely delighted that my poems and myself were spotlighted in this journal called SIPE, which is an international journal of very high regard. It's based in the Seychelles and is distributed all throughout the Seychelles, and also to, I believe it's the embassies, where there's a Seychelles embassy. So that's fantastic to think that my poems are going all around the world. So I just thought I might read from them if I can find them. I have 3 poems that were put as the Lumiere Sur, which is kind of like the spotlight in this journal. So the first poem I'm just going to read is called As It Is. Really, it's about labels. That's what was on my mind at the time when I wrote it. It's about the labels we use for ourselves and to describe ourselves. Now, my personal feeling is that labels are useful to give us terms to describe and help others to know us, but they don't define us, and that was what I was thinking about. And the poem is called As It Is. Do we define the sun as colour? To the flowers it is life. Will we name it yellow and feel satisfied? But there are hints of heat and passion. To the morning dew it is tender. Will we name it a season and hold it in its place? Do the mountains not kiss the tips without a name or topic? And to the sea, who craves moon and sun, what of him? What if then it was not a colour, to all just a sweet emotion? We could then embrace it and love it with simple devotion. Do I find comfort in the naming? Labels already, there are many. We could just take the day and love it as it is. That's called As It Is. Just going to maybe read another one, and then I'll leave the reading of the poems there, because I'm sure it's a bit boring just hearing me wittering on about my poems. Here we go. This one's called Love Goes On, and you can probably tell it's about my family. I'm incredibly lucky. I have a husband who's so supportive and allows me to do what I do. Without him, I couldn't do that. And my girls are just my absolute world. So this is called Love Goes On. What is love but a day of work? A fire built, a home made, a house to lay in, a door to open, strong arms to toil and weeds to clear, rocks to climb and lapping waters, storms to weather and dinners to be eaten, tears to shed, decisions to be made, loyal and faithful, new and old, words and stories and clothes to dry, sweat and thirst, sweet and joyful. Love alters not the work, it is never done. Like my love for you, forever it goes on. Hope you enjoyed those. I'm going to do a link to some poems in the event when I do my post in a minute or two, and there's a great blog post there with 22 pieces on anxiety to help you if you'd like to read some of those. So generally I'm on Facebook. I'm on this author page here. I'm going to paste this, copy this live into the event, but my Facebook author page is the best place to get me. I'm also on Instagram. I am on Twitter. Still haven't entirely worked out how to use Twitter, so I did go on there, but not as often. Feel free to follow me on there. I'm just going to have a quick look and see if there are any questions that I've missed. I think I probably got most of them. Before I tell you about Best Friends Forever, I can't see any pressing questions, so I will check afterwards. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I've written a free short story called Best Friends Forever. I've put this on a wide distribution, which means you can get it. It's only as an ebook, a digital form. You can get it from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, basically everywhere really, and you'll be able to download it for free, apart from Amazon.com. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do what's called price matching with Amazon.com yet. You basically have to tell them that the book is for free in other distributors. They've done it for the UK, but not for .com yet. You could just reach out to me if you want it, or get it from one of the other sites like the Barnes & Noble or the other online sites. So hopefully you can get a copy. It's a bittersweet short story about two friends. Anna is kind of the main character. She has a big event coming up. I'm not going to tell you any more in terms of the actual story, because with it being short, it would give away the twist. All I'm going to say is that I realised it would be a cool thing to do in a story, because the reader would not know until the end that there was a little twist to it, if that makes sense. And I think that's a common theme in my books. I do like to have a little bit of something that makes you go, oh, I didn't see that coming. Okay, that's cool. Thank you very, very much for listening today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival. As I say, there are some fantastic authors who I am friends with who are doing sessions. They all share a love of literature and books, and I know that they love to hear from readers, so do get involved and watch their sessions. All the very best, and check out my posts in the Derwent event, the online session for me. Take care. Bye.